Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you for joining the AppMaker webinar with Tempus Nova and Ignite Synergy. All right, let's get started. Welcome to the Building Apps with Google AppMaker webinar. We are excited to be discussing the long-awaited Google AppMaker solution. And we have the founder and CEO of Ignite Synergy and AppMaker University, James Ferreira, speaking today on AppMaker. We will also cover some information on who Tempus Nova is and the power of Google Cloud, followed by some questions and answers. So please feel free to drop in questions throughout the presentation, either in the chat box or the questions section of GoToWebinar. We will also have some periodic questions throughout the webinar, so keep on the lookout for those questions. With that, I am happy to introduce James Ferreira, founder and CEO of Ignite Synergy and AppMaker University. He is also the author of O'Reilly books, pretty cool, on Google Apps Script, Web Application Development Essentials, and Google Script Enterprise Application Essentials. He is a Google developer expert on the G Suite platform. All right, James, are you ready?
I am, and thanks for having us. We're really excited to share some of the information about AppMaker and what it is and how it works. I guess we can get started, talk just a little bit about Ignite Synergy and a little bit about where I've come from. So I started on the Google Apps platform about 12 years ago. I was working at the New Mexico Attorney General's office, and we were one of the first agencies that became interested in moving from Microsoft Office to G Suite, which was called Google Apps for Business at that time. And the main offering there was to fix our email problem. And we soon figured out that there was a whole lot of things that we needed to do in Google that just to comply to state regulations and things like saving files on a tape drive in the state storage lockup. And we started writing all kinds of code to handle that stuff, and I got really interested in AppScript and became one of the first Google AppScript authors for O'Reilly. And I wrote a couple books on that, and then pretty soon we started working into doing custom development and writing a lot of applications for clients all over the world, and really extending the Google Apps platform. That led to Google asking us to take a look at AppMaker. And we came out and did some beta testing with them and then helped do a lot of suggesting as it was in the early release stage of what AppMaker could become. And now it's a fully released product. It's available today and on your G Suite domain if you have business or enterprise level. And what it is, and let's go ahead and switch over to the a couple more slides here. Let me just kind of give a quick rundown of what we're going to do. We had some real world demos queued up here, but I'm not going to be able to access them because of our devices, and GoToMeeting doesn't seem to be cooperating. So we're probably going to skip that part, but we're going to tell you a little bit about what AppMaker is and who it's for, and then some of the real life use cases that we've seen out there in the market. What is AppMaker? So that's kind of the first question that people ask is, well, what is this thing? And what we have is AppMaker is a low-code application development tool. It lives inside of G Suite. So if you're thinking of building applications or you have applications that you're needing to get for your business, and you're looking at a lot of third-party things, they're taking the data out of the business, outside of Google, putting it in their servers and their storage, and you're paying extra fees for those and that kind of thing. And you end up with a lot of this moving data around, storing in different places, and losing a lot of control, and also taking on a lot of security risk for moving that data all over the place. So what AppMaker does, it allows you to build those same kinds of applications within your own domain, within G Suite, so that everything's in one nice tight package, has all the same security features that Google is world famous for, and is very easy for your IT staff to manage because it's all put in one place. The other thing that AppMaker does that's really amazing is we do call it a low-code application development platform. And this is really kind of a new thing in the world. If you haven't heard that before, it's not surprising, but it is something that we're probably going to hear a lot more of in the next few years. Something that it will, in our opinion, is going to really take over development. One of the big reasons why is we're seeing that in the next few years, there's going to be a huge shortage of developers. And they're saying 500,000 developers short in the US, which is going to create some big gaps. And that's great if you're a developer, you're definitely not going to run out of work. But at the same time, if you're a business, it's going to be very difficult to find developers to do the work you want to do. If you want to build custom applications, they're built for your business. So what we're seeing with AppMaker is that because of its low-code nature, we're seeing a lot more citizen developers, people that are in the business units that they don't come from a coding background, they don't know how to write JavaScript, they really don't know any of those things, but they do know what their business process is, and they know how to they know where they're starting from, and they know what their ending point is. They just need some help putting the app together in the middle that's going to help them accomplish collecting data, viewing data, doing reports on data, and all those kinds of things. And AppMaker is definitely that tool. It uses simple drag and drop features to allow you to assemble an app. In a lot of our apps, about 80% of the apps that we're building for businesses right now, and we've built hundreds of these things, they don't use any code at all. It's just drag and drop, and then of course using templates that we've already built. They're available at AppMaker University. And then also plugins that allow you to extend things like, say, adding email or something like that to your platform. So we know we're going to see a lot more of these low or no code developers, citizen developers, showing up in the marketplace. They're going to be able to build things that is going to save IT a lot of times, and that's actually good for developers in IT, because often they don't like, being a developer myself, we often don't like doing all the business process stuff. It's like, well, move that icon 1 pixel to the left. We hate that kind of stuff. We want to build things that are really powerful and keep those and work on really complex tasks, and that's going to allow developers to be freed up to do those kinds of complex things, while a lot of the business process stuff is taken over by the people that are into business process stuff. So we definitely see this kind of bell curve, kind of a piece between the more technical and the less technical people. It's estimated, and these are some of the Salesforce numbers that are coming out, that there's a link down there that you can view some more information on these things. 74% of leaders say there's going to be some kind of a shift, that we're going to see more business units working on this stuff and bringing in really kind of a new age of developer. We think it's really a great thing. Just a quick rundown of where AppMaker actually sits. So it is within G Suite. It's one of the additional services. You can turn it on in the admin panel. And it's built on top of AppScript. It's not built out of AppScript, but it does basically sit there on top of AppScript. So if you are already an AppScript developer and you're wondering, well, what's the easiest way to, if you're already doing a lot of AppScript development and you're wondering how to do your UIs, then this AppMaker's the tool to do that. It does that in a beautiful way. You can still write all of your AppScript in the back end. AppMaker actually has scripting built into the AppScript. A better version of the AppScript editor is built into AppMaker, allowing you to do all the things you would normally do in AppScript, connect to everything on Google's platform, plus everything else in the world that's web connected, right from inside of AppMaker. So it's definitely a nice evolution of the AppScript platform. I think we want to throw a polling question out here, ask a little bit about where some of you might be, whether you're developers or whether you're working in your company. Well, it looks like we got a lot of other, so a lot of other people out there that are not necessarily in business development. Actually, the majority of you are not developers, which doesn't surprise me, because we've been hearing this quite a bit. So you're probably either maybe you're at the C-level or you're somewhere out there working somewhere, possibly in the IT department, but you're not in the development, but you're still needing to support all of those customer needs. And AppMaker is definitely the tool we're looking for to do that with. Okay, so we know that obviously, if you're on this webinar, you're somewhere in business or you're freelancing or something like that, trying to find out more about this platform. The businesses have to get stuff done, and there is a huge software gap. We talk to, especially government, we talk to government people that are still sticking stuff in envelopes and inter-office email and sending it around like vacation requests and things like that. And what you can do with AppMaker is you can take a lot of those manual processes, a lot of that paper stuff that still exists, a lot of businesses are still using paper, or more commonly what we find are these gigantic spreadsheets that people are trying to use a spreadsheet like a database. And so you've got 100,000 rows of data in there, and that's just not as useful as it could be if it was in a structured database. And while that seems like a scary, scary place to try to create a database, AppMaker makes that kind of stuff just a snap. It's so easy to do. There's actually no setup at all. We use Google Cloud SQL on the back end for AppMaker, and where you would traditionally have to go set that up using GCP, in AppMaker, it's just a single button click. You just click the little plus key and tell it to add a SQL database, and you're done. All you have to do is put in your fields or import your spreadsheet, and it'll automatically create the database, and it makes it very easy to do those things. Like I was talking about before, people are going to find ways to get their work done. They want to be more efficient. They want to have computer aided assistance in doing the jobs that are manual, to figure out how to even store or communicate with other people within the business and communicate that business knowledge. They want to be able to put it on their phone and make it mobile. And so they're going to find ways to do that. And that's certainly what a lot of the surveys are saying, that in this survey, 71% are finding other ways outside of IT, what IT is supporting. And all of that shadow IT comes with a huge security cost. A lot of this data and information within a business is very critical to the business. And if it gets out, or it's shared inappropriately or lost, which could be even worse, it could be detrimental to the business. And that's why we really want to keep it in a platform that, one, the IT department is already certified as being excellent and has world-class security that is not necessarily being taken care of by most of the third-party applications out there. Even if they have a security agreement, it typically doesn't qualify for what you would consider the proper level for most businesses. So that's where AppMaker is definitely a game changer. Because it's easy to use, because it's low code, it's part of G Suite already, it runs on Google Cloud, and it's completely hosted. There's nothing to install on your computer. It all runs in the cloud. All you need is a web browser. You can go there, start creating apps right away. It's fast. So one of the things that, and we do talk to a lot of customers out there working with Tempus and on our own, we find that most of the time, and I've been doing development for many years, and so I can write code just as fast as anybody else. But with AppMaker, we can do things like, if I was to fire up a PowerPoint presentation or a Google presentation and start creating slides to show you how the app was going to flow and doing some mockups and things like that, it would take me longer than just building it in AppMaker. Often we will build entirely functioning apps in 1 to 2 hours, 3 hours for more sophisticated things, and often the same time that you would take to stand up a regular web app, go set up your servers, go set up your HTML and start writing things and write all the connectors and create a SQL server. All that stuff is massive overhead. And it takes weeks and months, and especially if you're dealing with having to already work with an overloaded IT department where they're going to need to provision firewall permissions and things like that, it could take you months to get an app out there and running, plus going through security risks. How are you going to protect that from the outside world? All those things, that's all handled when you build inside of G Suite's platform. So the worries of those things go away. We do find that it is approachable if you are in a business unit. If you're not a traditional developer, it's very approachable. It will, with very little training, we have a boot camp that gets you up to speed and teaches you how to use the tools so you can start using things. We have templates, plugins, all the things are there to get the business people up and running on this very quickly. If you're a traditional developer and you're looking for something new, something faster, so you can deliver more quality in a very short period of time, then this is the platform for you. One of the things that I really like coming from a coding discipline is that I can take the same AppMaker app that I worked on 2 years ago, and I do have a couple that are 2 years old now. I can go and work on that same application, and because of the way AppMaker structures things, it will you can go back and you can see where you were at without having to go and rewrite or reread all of the code. And often, any developer that's been doing this for any period of time, if you go look at something you wrote 2 years ago, you'll, at first glance, you'll be like, who is the guy that wrote this stuff? This is terrible. I mean, why would they write such bad code? And then you realize it was actually you. And it was just because you mature as you write code over time, but that also means you bring in a lot of new things that change how you write the code. So when you have to update something from several years ago, you pretty much have to rewrite the whole thing. So you can bring in all of the newer, better methods you did. Well, all that boilerplate stuff that you're constantly rewriting as a developer is handled within AppMaker. So you can just focus on the pieces that really matter and create those connections. And so you're able to maintain your apps more easily, and you're able to just go faster in every respect of the development process. I get asked the questions well, is this thing really enterprise ready? And some people say yes, and some people say no. I have applications out there running with clients that have millions of rows of data that is valued in the billions. And those apps are great. They run just as fast. Actually, some of them are replacing apps that were running on other services, traditional web services that they'd gotten slow, they weren't mobile friendly, they just didn't work very well. We built an AppMaker app in just a couple of days to replace something that took 6 months to build and was just a dinosaur, and updated everything that you could think of. We've worked with, like I said, we've worked with a lot, and we've worked with many of these companies, and these companies are companies that we know are using AppMaker. They are creating all kinds of products that you can imagine. So travel approvals are really big. A lot of inventory management, budgeting, those kinds of things. Document workflow, because you're able to utilize Drive and the Drive Picker. Anything that's along those work processes, workflows where you can use Gmail, all that's integrated into AppMaker, and it just makes this natural process. Something, I'll show you a couple apps here that we've been working on. One of these was something we went over to Texas government, and we wanted to take a look at something they had built in Access. And so Access is definitely getting to be an older tool. It's still out there. A lot of people use it. It has kind of a spreadsheet kind of feeling, or you can make those old style gray background UIs that are just getting difficult. Not very mobile friendly. There's not a lot of tools there that allow you to be on the level of what you're seeing apps, especially mobile apps. When you pull out your phone, they're formatting for the phone. They look great. They feel like they should. They feel like a mobile app. They run like a mobile app. It's really hard to achieve in tools like Access without going through a lot of effort. And so that was exactly where the Texas government office was at. They were thinking of, we want it mobile, we want it to be available outside of the Windows desktop that this app, that Access is installed on. We needed to do more advanced data validations, email integrations, Drive, all that stuff we want in this app, and it doesn't have it. We left their office, and 4 hours later came back and said, here's your AppMaker app. It meets all the standards that you were requesting, and it's done and ready for you to use. Pretty amazing that you can actually look at a concept, go from that ideation to right to an actual functioning app, and not built on a platform that's cheap or off the wall weird stuff, like a FileMaker Pro database or something like that works great on the desktop, but try to scale it to a massive organization, and you're going to have all kinds of headaches. This is built on Cloud SQL. It's automatically backed up, will store as much data as you could ever imagine trying to store in something. It's unlimited and extremely fast. And that's the platform it starts with. That's the preferred choice in AppMaker, is building on an enterprise database system. Looking at another government agency, Arizona 911, we put together a demo for them. They had, again, massive spreadsheets. And in this case, their spreadsheets had more than 3 million cells of data, which is just too big to put on the cloud. And hitting all kinds of barriers there, and when you have a spreadsheet with 3 million cells in it, it's not a lot of fun to work in. They take a long time to load. If you have formulas in there, those formulas spin and spin and spin, and they're just not very well suited. The other problem is you get a ton of data duplication because this tab has to bring data from that tab, and it's not a relational database. It's a spreadsheet, right? It was meant to have individual rows and columns, and that's just how they work. Well, putting the same data into a actual database allows you to do relationships. We can add images, format the data in a way that's easier to see. So looking at a spreadsheet on a cell phone is definitely not fun. Looking at an app maker app on a cell phone is great. You get the data organized the way you want to see it. The UIs are mobile responsive, so if you have a wider screen, it looks one way. If you go to a smaller screen, it shifts the data around so that you can still view it and use it and utilize it. It just looks great. You also get the advantage of being able to click on things like phone numbers and all that stuff that you just can't get in the spreadsheet. We've been working here in Arizona. We seem to have a lot of people running around in Arizona working on AppMaker. The state of Arizona just went to AppMaker, so that's definitely generated a lot of interest. This client came to us wanting to take paper forms that teachers are using to try to meet state standards and turn that into an app that they could use on their iPads. 2 hours. 2 hours later, we converted this over to a system that allows them to get unlimited students, unlimited surveys of how their data is going, and working on that. So let me just run through a couple of these really quickly. AppMaker goes just about everywhere. So this cleaning company uses it on their carts to help guide their people through the work they need to do. It has very beautiful UIs that are driven by icons so that it's easy for them to work and go through their day, and it shows them, and they're able to check things off, and that allows the management to track in real time how long it's taking to perform each operation and where they're at in the process, so they know who they need to train or what they need to do. It also gives their clients a good way to see that this is the work that was done and how long it took. We work with big clients that manage gigantic budgets. We're able to, one thing that's really great about AppMaker's platform is it's not a closed off platform. It allows you to bring in any kind of JavaScript libraries you want to use, any CSS, HTML. You can create entire, if you don't want to use the AppMaker canvas to create things, you can just create an HTML page and put in there whatever you want. So it also supports traditional development if that's just kind of your thing. Working into workflows, we're able to do backups and automated emailing, different stages, have very dynamic types of workflows. So more of a design your own workflow kind of a situation. I did have a couple of demos queued up here, but because we had to switch computers at the last minute, I'm not going to be able to show those. So I'll just give you a kind of a quick example. One of the things that's really impressive about AppMaker is it's also built on top of Google's platform. And that means you're getting a couple of things like AI and machine learning. And some of our demos that we did have would allow you to do things like scan images in by sending them off to the Vision API and have Google's AI detect what those images are and bring those back as tags as what it saw in the picture. And that allows you to really quickly organize things. We have a new product out called ML Translate. If you want to know more about that product, you can actually go to mltranslate.com and see a short video on how it works. But what it does is it allows you to use machine learning and translation. So when you find something that's translated incorrectly, you can train a model to correctly identify the language that's maybe in your industry. So you might have a lot of jargon, like maybe you're in the medical industry or you're in a production industry that uses a whole lot of jargon in its documentation. You want to translate that for people overseas. Well, it's not going to come out very well with traditional machine translations. So with the AI, it's bringing in all that Google has for natural speech engines and all those things, applying that to the language, allowing you to train models specific to how your industry works, and then produce accurate translations. And then we just had a short demo on how we've helped some cities work on doing vehicle management within their police car fleets. All right, so I think we're going to wrap up here.
If anybody does want to see the demos, you can reach out to us directly or you can reach out to Tempus Nova, and we're happy to set up some time to kind of walk you through those and show you the proofs in the pudding.
Yeah, that sounds good. I was also thinking, I know you guys have a good YouTube channel, so with a lot of those types of snippets, as does Tempus Nova. So, well, thank you so much, James and John. And, you know, Tempus Nova is excited to be partnered with Ignite Synergy. And it's really incredible the things that you're doing with Google and AppMaker. Just really quickly, we're a Google Cloud Premier partner, GCP partner, and Google Maps and Chrome reseller. So we've been working with Google since 2008, pretty much as long as the Google App Solution was released by Google. Because of this long-standing relationship with Google, we are experts at transitioning organizations to Google Cloud. Everyone on our team is a Google certified professional. So how can we help you get started building apps with Google App Maker? Tempus Nova can help get you set up and running with G Suite for Business, G Suite for Enterprise in order to access AppMaker applications. Again, we're experts. This is our bread and butter, implementing the G Suite solution, migrating legacy data, training your end users on the G Suite solution, and supporting users through that transition. We can also help you set up your GCP Cloud SQL database, which, as James mentioned, is required to store AppMaker application data and is unlimited and scales with your needs. If you engage Tempus Nova for assistance with this, we can help you get Google credits for this GCP usage, so up to $500 for GCP usage. We can also support you in the usage thresholds, GCP billing monitoring, and just getting your organization set up. We can also help you procure AppMaker University solutions. So there's an AppMaker Video Bootcamp offering, a series of videos for your users to get familiar to start building apps in AppMaker. And if you work with Tempus Nova, we can get you a 10% discount off of that. So things like that, working with Tempus Nova, we can support your organization. So I just have a quick poll as well that I'm going to launch here to fill that out. Awesome, 100% yes has dedicated developer staff, so that's great. So with a dedicated developer staff, you know, whether you're using, you know, Google Cloud or other platforms for your developer, Tempus Nova, you know, can support you with learning Google Cloud Platform development, or potentially, you know, doing custom application development projects for you so that your resources can be focused on other initiatives. So I really, I want to quick talk about why Google Cloud. So we talked about AppMaker and G Suite for Business or G Suite Enterprise, as well as the Cloud SQL database. So a lot of this I'm going to quickly run through because some of you may already know, but for those that don't, as you can see, Google has achieved, you know, the industry certs. FedRAMP Moderate certified for all their data centers. They've gone through all the ISO audits, CSA Star certified. Google's constantly working to extend and strengthen encryption and data protection across their services. All data is encrypted in transit and at rest, and for physical security, which leads me to the fact that Google has built the largest, most advanced computing infrastructure. They've got customer servers, purpose-built for efficiency and performance. So Google invests billions of dollars every year and into their technology, into their security protections, and into their products. So I have another quick question to launch. All right, so it looks like there's some good opportunity here for us with a lot of you are not on a developer platform today managed by a CSP. So as we learn more about AppMaker capabilities and Google Cloud, I think there's definitely some opportunity here. Just one more that I'm going to launch here. So I see some people on AWS, some people on GCP, some people on other. So we always recommend to our customers that it's good to diversify. It's good to not be either solution agnostic or and utilize technologies from both AWS and GCP as well as other things for your technology environment. So just to touch on this slide very quickly, again, Google is one of the largest manufacturers of hardware in the world, despite not selling a single server. So they run their data centers using custom hardware, custom operating systems, and again, each of these systems has been optimized for security and performance. And because Google controls the entire hardware stack, the data protection is very solid. And finally, this slide really shows Google's investment. They've got hundreds of thousands of miles of fiber optic cable, across the globe, in our oceans, and they're focused on making Google Cloud the best infrastructure in the world. So with Google, you are in good hands. So with that, we will open it up to some questions that you may have. Again, please use the GoToWebinar questions, and let's just go in and see if there's any questions.
So we have a question regarding, this is for Tempus Nova. Does everyone in my company need to have a G Suite business license to access built AppMaker applications?
Yes, everyone that wants to access AppMaker application capabilities will need a G Suite license. And again, as a Cloud Premier partner and reseller, we can help your organization get set up and running.
And then this is a good question for James. Does AppMaker support Python?
It does not. It does support JavaScript go for AppMaker. Of course, you can do HTML, JavaScript, CSS. Those are all languages, but Python is not supported.
Go ahead, Abby.
Yeah, so it looks like we have another question. As a dentist, I want to build an app for my patient appointment management and billing. So I believe if you would like to reach out to the Ignite Synergy Tempus Nova team to learn more about, how we can support you and how AppMaker could help you build this app, we will be following up with you after the webinar with the slides, and you'll have our contact information in there. So please feel free to reach out to us.
Yeah, and we've definitely built quite a few of these apps. One of the things that's great about G Suite is it is HIPAA certified, so you can store your data there. You just have to get all the proper documentation in order with Google, and that's an already certified platform. So that's a huge plus when you're looking at building an app on some platform.
We also have a question, John. How much US dollars does it cost to purchase a GCP license? So when you Google has a pay-as-you-go model for Google Cloud Platform, so it's a bit different than the other CSP platforms. It's billed based on actual usage, so you're not having to buy a tier or so to speak. It's once you spin up that Cloud SQL database in GCP, and then you start applying data to that, it then starts calculating your billing based on what is being used in GCP. And that's why we mentioned earlier, Tempus Nova can help organizations understand that billing model, set thresholds so that, if you have a surge in data, you can understand we need to be alerted once it hits this price point.
And Abby, I was thinking you might want to mention some of the special credits that you all offer as well.
Yeah, and so as soon as we get that GCP instance set up and you start using it and you're incurring costs, as a GCP partner, we can work with Google to get up to $500 in Google Cloud Platform credits, which goes a long way because they do, per minute billing, which is very, I think it's like a couple cents per gig. So how do you register for the boot camp? Again, if you are interested in the video App Maker Bootcamp, you can reach out to Tempus Nova and App Maker University, and we can get you set up and some more information on what that entails. If you want to purchase that, we can, in order to get you that 10% off on the video bootcamp, we would help you procure that.
And really quick, just to touch on that too, we do offer the video bootcamp. We also offer instructor-led bootcamps, and you can book either of those through Tempus Nova. Some organizations that have multiple people that would like to go through the training prefer to actually work on or towards an application or a use case that's specific for AppMaker. And so what we've done in the past with groups of 4+ at any organization is we would take your specific use case, fit it into our training model, and you'd still learn all the basics and fundamentals of AppMaker while we start to help you produce what it is that you're actually going to use. So both of those, if you wanted to do the online video bootcamp that's self-paced, or if you wanted to do instructor-led, contact Tempus Nova to help get you booked and scheduled for that.
Thank you, John. Does AppMaker support push notifications?
It depends on the service that the pushes are coming from. So it has what we call triggers. So it allows you to trigger off events or trigger off of timers. So for instance, if you're in another service like Gmail or Calendar, we can use, or you're using a Google Form or some of those different things, a spreadsheet, all of those have the ability to use installable triggers through the AppScript service that would allow you to push that data into your AppMaker app.
So I see somebody asked, I want to make a SaaS platform. Is that possible?
You know, AppMaker may not. It depends on what the service is that you're providing. AppMaker may not be the right tool for that, depending on what your SaaS service does. So if it's something that you use as an internal business app, then it probably and requires a UI for users to use and stores data and things like that, then definitely the right tool. If you're providing, say an API or something like that to the outside world, then you might be wanting to look at something like Cloud Endpoints or something else on the GCP platform that that allows you to do those services. So it's a little bit of an open-ended question that, the answer is you'd have to know more about what it is before you can really give it a good answer. But no doubt Google has an offering somewhere within Cloud Platform to be able to do that, whatever it is that you can possibly think of doing.
What are the cost differences you've seen building solutions with AppMaker versus other custom development platforms?
So we have seen about a 90% reduction in cost in most instances. And mainly that comes from the time. The most expensive thing in development is the time, because you're building software. You typically aren't buying much equipment. Most of the time that's supported on a hosted platform somewhere. And so those costs are negligible. The cost really comes in the people that it takes and the developers you have to hire at fairly high wages to develop that application that does that specific task, or sometimes if you're even scaling up to something you want to deliver on a mass scale, it's very, very expensive to hire developers and go through that whole process. Even if you're trying to offshore it, that incurs its own cost of having to manage people in other countries, and while they may be cheaper by the hour, it's very difficult to get the same kind of production that you might get if you were local. It just has a lot of different issues that are surrounding that when you do traditional development, and that's why it tends to be quite expensive. A typical database-driven application, even on a very simple website, just feeding information, just displaying information, those normally run more than $25,000 just for the simple stuff. The same AppMaker application could be built for less than you could probably build it yourself just using the drag and drop interfaces, but for no cost. But if you wanted to hire a company to do it, you may spend a couple $1,000. So huge cost reductions.
Sounds good. I think we've gotten to all of the questions. Thank you so much, James and John, and everyone who was able to take time out of their day to join us and learn more about AppMaker. Stay tuned. We'll follow up with the presentation and the YouTube link and potentially round 2 of AppMaker webinar series.